Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide. We know that nothing happens by chance, that we had a divine appointment to be here. And as I address our viewing audience, you tuned in not by chance, but by divine appointment. And that when we are ready, everything appears. And our theme for the month, I love, it's Awaken to the Spirit. Today we are awakening to the Spirit within us, the energy that allows us to come forth in greater and greater ways. Spiritual awakening is that moment when we know we can never ever go back to the way it was, because we now know the difference. We now have a choice. And I always say the moment of enlightenment is the moment that we realize we have a choice. Choose thee this day whom you will serve. God, life, truth, beauty, wisdom, or the ego. And what is the ego? It's about, the E edging God out. So when we come from the place of peace and the place of spirit, there is an energy that opens for us. We no longer have to judge the way everybody is doing it or beat ourselves up. I saw a bumper sticker, and I love bumper sticker wisdom, and it said, "Oh my God, I miss going to the gym again. It's been 5 years in a row." Just beating myself up over it. We no longer have the need to do that, because beyond a wholesome discipline, we are gentle with ourselves and one another. And I share that we have no creed but love. Love one another as I have loved thee. We have no doctrine but the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide moves beyond color, race, creed, and sexual orientation, because our God is a God of oneness. Do you agree? Yes. We absolutely know that. We come in knowing that. I feel energetically as a species, we know that. Hatred is learned. I saw this sign, it said, "I believe in the separation of church and hate." And what we know at the deepest level is that this God, this energy, is everywhere present within each and every one of us. And when we really begin to open to that energy, there is no need to judge or look outside of ourselves or be general manager of the universe. We can resign that. That took a lot of energy, right? Being general manager of the universe the way everyone else should do it, even though we do know better. But we let go of that, and we allow the world to unfold as the world unfolds, and hold the space of love. Love is the strongest healing power in the universe. The moment of awakening is the moment that we know that we can never go back to the way it was. We no longer have a need to gossip. We no longer have a need to look outside ourselves. We no longer have that need to beat ourselves up. Spiritual awakening is that realization of oneness. And that, yes, we have a lot of work to do on the planet. But I have to believe deeply in the idealism of every great avatar, sage, teacher of the age. And that was about oneness. It was about truth. It was about the knowingness that as we come together as one, everything else absolutely removes itself and returns to its native nothingness from whence it came. Because remember, it is only the life and energy that we give to it. And the more energy that we give to it on that level, then we're giving our power away. We're giving our energy away, our life force energy. And when we awaken to that, there is such a beauty and such a truth. And that we go forward in life doing what we can, where we are, with what we have. We put the works with the faith. We are not ostriches. We don't put our head in the sand. I am an activist. And I am an activist for justice. I am an activist for energies that create oneness. That I speak my word into the law of mind. I do at times feel righteous anger. But it's the righteous anger that goes and creates a cause and gets on the solution level, and out of that solution, amazing results happen. And I know that as we put the works with the faith, that we can change the world. Gandhi said it. He said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." That means I've got to practice these principles and go within and know the truth and free myself from judgment and looking outside myself. One of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my ministry was in 1982, when I had someone who wanted to have a counseling appointment with me. And it is the most impactful and profound moment in my entire ministry. And that I was living in Coronado, and it was actually Friday. I always took, it was a day that I took for myself. But he insisted, he called several times, and I said, well, you can come out to Coronado, and you can, we can talk then. And so he came out to Coronado, and I sat down, and he had me read all these newspaper articles that were really very boring. It was about someone named, his name was Ed Shapiro, and that he'd stolen a lot of money from an Albany bank in Chicago, $650,000, and I'm reading this. And what was so interesting, that the Ed Shapiro that was sitting in front of me in my living room was not the person that, I was reading about. I was sure of it. Because this person had been coming for several months and was very sweet and very kind, and he was very unassuming. And then I'm reading about this Carl Johnson, who stole all this money from an Albany bank 7 years prior, and that the FBI was after him, and he was on the run, and all of this, so you have to realize in 1982, that was a long time ago, and I always hold everyone at the highest level, but something kind of rang a little bell. I am a master of the obvious at times, so I got it, that this person, and I'm reading about in this newspaper article, must be the person that's sitting there in the chair in my living room. So at that point, I had, my assistant was there, and I had her take my daughter up the stairs, to the upstairs, and said that, these are certain articles and about a bank robbery, and I just need you to go upstairs. And as they're going up, I hear my little girl say, "Come on, Marilyn. Well, at least he's not a murderer. She's going upstairs. Let's be thankful for what we need to be thankful for here." And I'm reading this, and I said, "What caused you to come to me and share all this?" He said, "It's what you said in one of your messages." He said, "Can you look yourself in the mirror and absolutely embrace who's gazing back at you? Because the thing we're looking for, we're looking with. It is not our personage that's gazing back, it's God. It's that place in us, that being within us, that brought us forth." And when I went home, he said, "I have so many aliases." And I went home and looked in the mirror. He said, "I did not like what I saw because I couldn't find God gazing back at me, and I want to find God." So we sat there, and he said, "What should I do?" I said, "Well, I never really give advice on this level, but I say surrender. Surrender it all." And he says, "You mean surrender, go back to Chicago and surrender to the FBI?" And I said, "Yes, even though it's been over 7 years. He hadn't seen his twin boys in 7 years. He'd been, went through a divorce. His whole thing was that if he could be rich, he'd be happy. He had set it up that if he could be rich, he would be happy. So he stole the $650,000. He was the bank controller. He stole the money. He fled and was on the run for 7 years and could not look himself in the mirror. And of course, everyone thought he was dead, and his ex-wife collected on the insurance, and it had been over 7 years. So I said, "You need to surrender." So I called my attorney, and I said, "Who can fly back with us? Because Carl Johnson wants to surrender to the FBI." And what was so profound in that moment is he said, "I am awakened. I can breathe easy. I looked in the mirror and I saw God gazing back at me. I know who I am now. That money was never going to do it for me. And that all of that upset that I went through," he said, "I guess I just wouldn't have learned my lesson any other way." So my friend called his criminal attorney, who flew with us back to the FBI. And the night before, he took me to his elementary school, he took me to his middle school, he took me to his high school, and Northwest, where he became a CPA, a certified public accountant. And as he was doing all this, it was very interesting, and looking at his life and how he made that judgment that money was going to do it for him. And the realization that it didn't, that what was within him was far greater than anything out in the world. And that was such a profound moment for him and also for me, because he got scared feet. He got, kind of scared at midnight and called me and said, I'm, getting, like I don't want to do this, and I'm feeling like I want to run. And I said, to where? Where would you run? And he kind of buried money, at different preserves. There was like 200,000 here, and there was 150,000 there. I sort of thought to myself, in 7 years I would have had the 650 spent in no time, but I kept that to myself. And then he was going to Las Vegas, and he said, I'm trying to lose it, because, eventually you're going to have to face yourself. So as he surrendered to the FBI, it was so interesting, all the dynamics in that. And I do want to share an aside. The FBI did not appreciate that a minister from San Diego was bringing in someone they had been after for 7.5 years. There was just not a great appreciation for that. So the minute he surrendered and I went to say something to him, he said, you will not speak to the suspect and the fugitive. I said, excuse me? We just flew all this way. And so I had to tell the attorney standing there what to say to this man, that I would go see his parents, and I would allow his parents to know that he was alive and well. And so we went out into Dickens Street, which was, really kind of weird. And my attorney said, Dickens Street, how more appropriate could this be? Dickens Street. The parents lived up above a Methodist church and a winding staircase. They were like the curators. And we knocked on the door, and I heard a voice say, yes! And I said, hello. I'm Reverend Sharron Stroud from San Diego, California. I'm your son Carl's minister, and I've come to tell you that he has surrendered to the FBI. This is behind the door, and is alive and well. And she opened up the door, she threw her arms around me, and she said, oh my God, we thought he was dead. Well, the wife had collected on the insurance. I said, no, he's alive and well. He has just surrendered to the FBI. And I shared that we had flown with him, and that he was, in custody. And she said, was he with the mafia? And I said, no, he did this all on his own. There was no mafia. He thought that he would, solve all his problems through this experience, and found out that he could not look himself in the mirror because God was not gazing back to him. Something foreign was gazing back. And at that moment, the father, who was kind of frail, we all embraced in this energy field a spiritual awakening at that moment when we realized there's no place to go. That coming home is coming home to ourselves. That we enter in to a community to really have our faith lifted. When we acknowledge that opportunity to deepen the quality of our lives, that there are some things that bear repeating. This has been one of the most amazing experiences of my entire ministry. I was in Time magazine, U.S. News World Report, on the cover of every newspaper you can think of. Minister is attributed to fugitive surrender. And when the press was calling, I just said, he came to the only decision that he could. He could not look himself in the mirror. He did not see God gazing back at him. And he made the only decision he could, and that is to surrender. Because when we surrender energetically, it's all about God. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I'll never change people, places, and things. And when we get that we can only change ourselves, and that we have that courage within us to do that, and the willingness to know the difference, something mystical and magical happens in our lives. That this is a lot of work to work on ourselves, but I want you to know it's so much better than the alternative. Because the alternative is always being at the effect of life, always looking on the outside in. It's this next big commission, it's this next big job, it's this next big opportunity, it's this next relationship. It's none of that. It's about our relationship to God. It's that opportunity that we have to know the truth and to also be able to laugh at our foibles. There's a gal on Facebook in her 90s, and she's always sharing very light and wonderful things. And she said, I want you all to know that I had a very close call. that my husband and I went to a party. We were laughing and drinking and having so much fun. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I can't drive my car home. And she said, so I took a bus. She said, we came upon a roadblock. Because I was driving the bus, they waved me through. She goes, I don't know who it belongs to. If you do, please give me a call. Puts her telephone number on Facebook. Isn't that wonderful? I just love what people do. And then there was a big, a big smiley face. And what we know is that we do need to laugh. We need to acknowledge that why do angels soar? Because they take themselves lightly. Why do the birds soar? It's because they take themselves lightly. And the opportunity that we have to know that we're in the world but not of it. We're in the world to live and love and laugh, sometimes to cry our tears, to weep the tears, and then to heal and to arise through those experiences so that we can be there one for another, giving a hand up one to the other. We don't give handouts. We give hand-ups in our way of life. We give out of empowering. We give out of the knowingness that I will never outgive God, that I do not give to make God feel better. I give to deepen, broaden, and expand the life of the giver. And in that recognition, something happens to us, that all our life is a gift to ourselves. All forgiveness is a gift to ourselves. All letting go is a gift to ourselves. All the energy that we do to work on ourselves, to be there for one another, is a gift to ourselves. So when we talk about spiritual awakening, can we look ourselves in the mirror? Do we see God gazing back? Carl Johnson had that moment in his life. He felt energetically that oneness and that peace and called me collect to tell me that he could finally gaze at himself in the mirror, that he knew what it was to have God gazing back to him and to feel that oneness out of surrendering to a power greater than he was, and the recognition that all that he was God. So when we realize that God is our source, it all unfolds in miraculous ways. It unfolds in ways that we could never dream of, because I always say, God has a better idea. And if it's not coming the way you want it, let it go. Let go and let God do what God does best by means of you, because you and God are the majority, and there is none else. I love our way of life. This way of life saved my life when I was 22 years old and walked into a New Thought ministry, and the minister said, "You are loved, you are beautiful." I had never heard that before, but somehow it resonated, and I stayed and realized God is love, and they that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in them. Whatever we conceive our God to be, whatever name we put on it. And what I know is that through that energy, we are going what? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Higher yet. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this way of life. And so it is. God bless you.